I built a writing app for fantasy authors and I launched that into my alpha this past week. So if you want to find out how launch week went for me, then stick around. I'm a solo developer and an indie author, and I ran into a lot of issues when trying to complete my first draft of my low fantasy novella that I've been working on for about a year now. A lot of those issues stem from disorganization, the writing tools that I was using, such as Google Docs, Microsoft Word, pen and paper. I wasn't keeping myself organized. I had world building all over the place. I didn't have really the motivation to effectively write every single day like I needed to because everything was so disorganized, and I just didn't really have that helping hand to keep nudging me along. So, with all that being said, I built my own writing app to address all of those problems for myself. And as I was doing that, I realized that, hold on a second, this might actually be able to help other people too, potentially. So I started to kind of share it around with some people that I know, my brother, who's also an author. And basically, I got to a point where the feedback that I was receiving was pretty great. And what I was trying to put together was something that other people wish that they had. So I was like, all right, let me try this out then. So I actually pushed to develop the app in its entirety to be something that people could use and actually enjoy. So I got to a point where last week I was ready to launch it into my alpha state. So it's not like a full 1.0 launch. It's not even a beta launch. It's just an alpha launch because I'm actively building it right now. I'm still working on features. I'm still working on systems. There's still things that are, I need to get wired correctly and all that kind of stuff, but it's functional. It works really well. And the systems that are there work really good and people really, really like them. There's a lot of interesting features that are in it. And one of the things that I've found really interesting, and I'll get into the feedback portion right now. So like I said, I launched this into alpha this past week. Very, very simple launch. I quite literally just pushed it live, had my authentication, had my billing system put together, and then I started sharing videos online about it. Just short form vertical videos on TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And then also I have started this build series here on long form for the YouTube channel where I did one video last week and now I'm following up again this week on where things are at. So that was my entire marketing strategy. It was just doing short form videos. And then with the people that I got signed up, then I'm also reaching out via email. So I'm basically just doing two marketing verticals, short form video and email from the people that I got from vertical video. So anyways, that's my whole plan of attack and how I did things this week. Pretty, easy, if you will. But the feedback that I have gotten has really been quite spectacular. I have had so much interest in this app, way more than I was expecting obviously, when you're building something, you have aspirations for where it could go. But man, the results early on have been really quite astounding to me, shocking. And I'm really, really excited and thankful for the feedback that I've gotten and the actual engagement that I have received as well. So with that being said, in my first week of launching this alpha, I've had 531 visitors to the website, which is kind of wild because I'm not attaching myself to, any existing apps or anything out there. I don't have incredible SEO, none of that. This has all been through sheer organic outreach. People just watching my videos, asking for the link or seeing the name of the app and then going on Google and looking it up. I got myself connected with Google search engine, I believe it is. And that has shown me that the searches on Google and then the conversion, or I should say the click-through rate of those searches to the app have been astounding. I'm somewhere like 75% on my CTR, if I'm not mistaken, with search terms for Codex Heim, the name of the app, and then converting into actually clicking and going over to the website, which is just wild. So this has all just been purely an interest-based engagement, I guess you could say. People have been really, really interested based off of what I've shown off in my videos. Now, as far as those videos are concerned, I've had some really good success. I would say overall, it's been mixed, but I would say it's an overall very strong net positive. I had one video that just honestly kick-started everything. I was just doing some videos and I tried a new format that I'd never done before on TikTok. And it did really, really well. And at this point now, it's got maybe 5,200 something views, I think, on TikTok. And then when you count in YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, I think it's another maybe 3,000 after that. So we're looking at maybe 8,000 views, which isn't spectacular. Obviously, it's not huge. But for my TikTok, that is my best performing video on my TikTok ever. And we're talking about a pretty targeted audience of authors and fantasy authors. And with that being said, the conversions from that have been really, really awesome. So that was, the best performing video. I've tested a lot of different other ones like photo posts and carousels and similar formats to the video, and then talking head videos. I've done a lot of different types of videos. I've tried posting once a day. I've tried posting multiple times a day. I've done all kinds of different things, just kind of, throwing spaghetti at the wall, if you will. I don't really have a full-on strategy, if you will. I could maybe say that the only real strategy that I have is these build videos that I'm doing once a week on the YouTube channel. But outside of that, everything else is pretty much just kind of doing it as I find it to be interesting. I'm in alpha, so I'm really just taking this as an opportunity to just try and get stuff out there, see what happens, see what people think about it, what their feedback is. If we're able to grow it, whatever the case may be. So that's been my methodology, if you will. But with that being said, all of that content that I've been sharing has actually resulted in, like I said, 530 something visitors to the website. But also I've gotten quite a bit of conversions to accounts. So the way that it works right now is there's one paid subscription tier, which is different than last week. I just made this change. Originally, I had two different sub tiers. One was the starter tier and one was the pro tier. And I just kind of realized over time last week that the starter tier, it just wasn't really doing much. And it was actually kind of negating the value of the pro tier. So I've dropped the starter tier entirely. And I've actually grandfathered the users who bought in at the starter tier. I've grandfathered them into the pro tier at their original price point. So because, obviously I'm changing the price for them. And it is alpha. And I do have it stated everywhere that things can change, prices can change, all those things. But I wanted to be good to those folks who decided to buy in early. So I've grandfathered them in. But anyways, point being, I now have one subscription tier. It is the pro tier, which is $15 a month. Now, the way that I have that set up is I have a 7-day free trial. When I initially set up the 7-day free trial, you had to add a payment method in order to start the trial. I quickly decided that I didn't want to do that, and I wanted to try what the trial conversion would be like if I took off the automatic payment method. So basically the way it works now is you go to the website, you go to the pro plan, you click start trial, and it takes you to a Stripe checkout where you just start the trial. You don't have to put any card information or anything like that in. You start the trial and you get access to the app and you are on the 7-day free trial. The way that then works is you get reminders every day throughout that 7-day period to say, hey, if you want to continue your subscription, you got to add a payment method. And then if they go and they choose to go to their Stripe account, add a payment method, then the first month of their pro tier is $10 as an early adopter thank you. Basically, it's a little promotion I'm running as an early adopter. The first month is $10, and then after that, it goes to the regular price of $15 a month. That is the current flow that I have for users for getting into the trial. Things have changed a little bit throughout the week. Like I said, I originally had a starter, and I originally did have the payment method structured at the beginning, but just kind of seeing feedback and seeing how users were responding, that's the decision that I made and kind of where I'm at now. So as of today, which is Monday, July 6th, that is the system. It is one sub tier, no card required to start your trial, and then you just simply have to add your payment method within that time frame, and then you get going onto the trial. So going onto your sub. But with that being said, in terms of actual conversions, we've had about 47 people who have gone to codexheim.com and have created an account. So the way it works is you click on, one of the tiers. It takes you to a sign up page where you have to sign up. And then once you sign up, you go to the Stripe checkout. So about 47 people have done that sign up where they've created an account on the app. And then in terms of people who have actually gone to the Stripe checkout and then completed the checkout and actually converted either into a paid tier or a trial period, right now is 15. I have had 15 people in my first week of alpha who have converted to either a trial or a paid tier. Now, I don't know what that conversion from trial to paid is going to be. That is the thing that I'm keeping my eye on. I don't know. I'm really looking to see what the results are from the initial wave of trial users in terms of how they convert if they add their payment method and they continue their sub. I don't know what it's going to be like. We're going to see, because obviously without having a payment method required at the start of trial, that lowers the friction at the top end for users to, get into the app. However, what that does do is that introduces an additional friction point where they have to continue. Now, the hope and the rationale here, the hope is that the user will use the app on their free trial, they'll really like it, and they'll be sort of ingrained into the ecosystem, right? Because we're writers. So, you get your stuff down, you get working, and my hope is that they'll really connect with the feature set and the flow as a writer in the app. And that will then tell them, okay, yeah, I do want to stick with this, so I'm going to add my payment method. That's the goal. That's what I'm looking for. We're going to see how that works, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. With that being said, as of right now, I currently have 3 users who were on the starter tier, and I've grandfathered them into the pro tier. And then I have one person who actually started the trial period before I took away the payment method. So they actually already had a payment method on there, and they have converted to being an actual paid sub user for their first month now, where they're getting that $10 early adopter, coupon, if you will. So I would say, yeah, right now we're at 4 out of the 15 original signups are actually paying users. Question's going to be, how do the additional trial users start to convert? I've got a couple of them that are supposed to roll over tomorrow. And then it's really just like every day after that for the next week, we're going to have 1 to 2 people who are coming up on the end of their trial, and we're going to see, will they convert? Will they not convert? I don't know. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of the numbers. Now, as far as MRR, if everybody converts to paid, right now, that puts me at, I believe, $190 in MRR after the first week, which is kind of insane. Like I said, this is brand new, never done anything like this. The response has been really quite interesting. It's been so positive, and it's not that I didn't think it would be positive, but I'm just surprised, I guess, at the level of appreciation from the writers who have used it. They think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's helped them tremendously. So that's just amazing. And that leads me into just sort of the anecdotal feedback that I've had here. Just people who have responded on, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. There's been a ton of just people who are interested in the first place. They're like, what is this app? This looks so cool. Like, what is this? And there's, of course, been several people who have, been turned off by the fact that there is a paywall to it, which is totally fine. Absolutely understandable. But the reality is that this is supposed to be a business. So I am trying to actually, grow a paying sub base because that's what this is for, right? This is a SaaS. So I want to be able to grow that. But the people who have used it, I've directly asked for some feedback via a announcement system that I have in the app where they can directly kind of interact with what I'm feeding out to them. And I've gotten some really, really tremendous feedback. People just really love the system. They love the way it works. They were drawn to a few different features. And to be honest with you, the one video that popped off on TikTok for me was actually about a feature that I wasn't anticipating being a driving metric, which I think always sort of happens for people who are building stuff like this. It's like, oh, you connected with that? I wasn't expecting that. Not that I thought it was a bad system. I actually thought it's a really good system, but it's the timeline feature. So the timeline feature in the app is, for me, it was a way to help me organize my thoughts and organize the story so I can visualize kind of how things are happening. And it's quite literally a visual timeline that you can scroll through, and you add points on the timeline and you add your events that transpire over time. That consistently has shown very, very positive feedback across the board on all of my social videos. And that wasn't even like the core tenet of the app, which is so funny to me. But it's awesome. It's absolutely fantastic to see that response. I've been rambling for a while, but basically where I'm at now for this week, my goals for this week are to really buckle down on the marketing side of things. I have done a really good job of bug fixing and I would say customer support. In the first week, there's been a numerous amount of bugs that have, shown up at horrific times. The one thing that I had a really hard time with was wiring Stripe into the app correctly. The app was wired beautifully. It functions really, really well, but connecting Stripe into the app and then having the different authentication methods, that's been the big problem for me is Google Auth and Apple Auth, those single sign-on services. Those have caused me tremendous issues with getting people into the app and getting them access after they start a trial or after they, go through the Stripe checkout. That has been an interesting situation, but I'm pretty sure at this point I've got that buttoned up pretty well. So there shouldn't be any issues with that moving forward. And if there is, it should be easier to identify and take care of. But yeah, so where we're at this week is the app's in a really, really good spot right now. I've got plenty of, feature additions and ideas and stuff like that I want to pursue in the future. But I'm trying to keep my development costs lower, considering we're 1 week into the month. I probably don't want to tank through all of my development costs immediately. Considering the app is functionally really, really solid right now. So I think my main focus for this week is going to be personally writing. I didn't write anything last week because I was so focused on this. So I want to be able to write myself this week. And then on top of that, the additional part is going to be actually marketing a little more heavily because we had holidays last week and everything, and it was really, really up and down. But this week, I'm hoping to really lock in and do some strong marketing and really get some users onto the app. And then based off of how I'm seeing the conversions from, the trial without a payment method into converting into an actual paid sub, I'm curious to see how that goes. Based off of how that goes, I might do a little A/B test and re-enable the payment method requirement in order to start the trial potentially. We're going to see how that kind of plays out, but it's on the table. We're going to see, obviously, trying to get as many conversions as possible, right? Because the feedback from the people who have checked it out has been spectacular. So getting more people on, and getting them through the trial conversion is going to be huge. So I'm really, really excited to see kind of how that plays out. We're going to see what happens. But if you're interested in following this journey, first off, if you're watching at this point, thank you so much. Who knows how many people are watching at this point, but if you're here, I appreciate you. Do me a favor. If you are here right now, hit that like button. Help YouTube send this out to more people. If you are a builder or if you're an author, if you have thoughts about the app, please let me know in the comments down below. You can check it out. It's called Codex Heim. The link is in the description. Like I said, it is a writing app specifically designed for fantasy authors like myself. Feedback has been tremendous. It's been awesome. So if you're curious, go check it out. There's a free 7-day trial. You can jump on the website, jump on there, 7-day free trial. No worries whatsoever. If you convert or not, it's all good. Give it a shot. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, because I like it a lot. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. That's it for today's video. Subscribe if you are curious about more content about Codex Heim and my indie author journey. I'd really appreciate it. But until next time, I'll see you in the next one.